Hey everyone, it's Carissa Wiley at sprinkledwithglitter.com. Thanks for joining me today. Today I am sharing how to create a letterpress look with the brand new press plates from Pinkfresh Studio and the Spellbinders Betterpress system. Now this entire release focuses around press plates, which are designed to work with the Spellbinders Betterpress system. And all of these are in true Pinkfresh Studio style here. I'm going to flip you through the entire release to begin with, and I'm going to show you that each of these press plates also features a coordinating die that is available separately. So you can either grab just the press plates or you can grab the press plate and die combination. All of these are so beautiful. There's some beautiful geometric backgrounds, some florals, some frames, and I think you're going to have a great time with this technique because it is so easy. Now, I do want to mention that the Betterpress system is compatible with the Platinum 6 die cutting machine from Spellbinders, also the Sizzix Big Shot, but it's not going to be compatible with an Anna Griffin Empress machine or a Gemini Junior machine. You can check compatibility for your machine over on the Spellbinder site. I have kind of the basic contents here with a couple of the Betterpress inks, and I ended up using a combination of the Detail Black Hybrid ink from Pinkfresh Studio as well as that black letterpress ink for today's project. Now I'm also giving you a preview of the brand new Pinkfresh Studio watercolor paper. Now this won't be available just yet, but be looking for it in the near future. It works great with the Betterpress system, but there are also some cotton cardstocks that are available from Spellbinders, which work beautifully for letterpress with the Betterpress as well. So I'm going to start by cutting this watercolor cardstock into two panels that measure 4 1/4 by 5.5 inches. The size of the Pinkfresh watercolor paper to begin with is 9 by 12, so you can get quite a few projects out of each sheet. Now this system is really simple and it contains kind of two basic parts. It has the platen, which I'm holding here, and it has these magnetic springy feet, and then the chase. Now inside the chase, this magnetic mat kind of sits down in there, and that is what holds your press plates in place. And I really like this idea because it means that you can easily mass produce and keep your images in the same spot on each card. Now to use this, I'm just going to take my press plate and I'm going to lay it right down onto that magnetic mat on the chase. So you can see I'm lining it up with the kind of area that shows the A2 size card. And then I'm going to grab this platen here and I'm going to turn it over with the springy feet facing up towards me. And I am going to grab a panel of my watercolor cardstock and I'm going to hold it in place with some of the Spellbinders Best Ever craft tape. And yes, this is a very good craft tape. Now, I will tell you that this was my first run through. I have never played with this system before. You're actually witnessing me using it for the very first time. And so I was very pleased with the results that I got right out of the gate with this system. Now, I've had it in my stash for quite a while, but I hadn't used it before now. So I'm going to go ahead now that I have my paper in place on my platen, and I am going to ink up my Betterpress plate or my press plate here from Pinkfresh Studio. And I am using the Pinkfresh Studio Detail Black Hybrid ink. And you can see I'm pressing and kind of twisting my pad all over that press plate. Now I'm going to take the platen and I'm going to place it right on top of the chase, and it kind of magnets into place. And then I will run this through my die cutting machine. Now, until you run it through the die cut machine, that paper is actually hovering over the press plate. It doesn't make contact with the press plate until you apply the pressure using the die cut machine. So you don't get like blobs and smears if you don't put the platen on, kind of in the right place from the very beginning, because it's kind of hovering over. But look at this beautiful result that I got. Now, you cannot see it very well on camera, but this actually presses that design and the ink into the paper. So this creates that really beautiful high-end letterpress look, but it's almost foolproof. I mean, like I said, that was my very first time, and the only reason I decided to redo it was because I had a piece of my tape in the way of the design. So I've grabbed my other panel of this watercolor cardstock, and this time I'm keeping my tape out of the way of that beautiful design of the press plate. And I am going to just ink this up again using that Detail Black Hybrid ink from Pinkfresh Studio. I'm just going all over the plate using kind of a press and twist motion. Now, I did notice when I went and used the Betterpress ink later on, these are a little bit easier to use with smaller cubes. So I'm going to have to pick up a cube of the Detail Black Hybrid ink from Pinkfresh Studio so that I can use it with this, because I think that inking process is definitely easier with a smaller ink pad. So once I have my design inked up, I placed the platen on the chase, and then I brought in my Platinum 6 die cutting machine, and I'm just rolling that through. And then you're going to see that once again, I have very beautiful results. Now, I left this in here uncut so that you could see really how easy this is and how foolproof this is. Beautiful results once again, and now I am ready to move on and do a little coloring of this image. And I'm excited today because in the coloring of this image, I get to show a little sneak peek at another product that's coming from Pinkfresh Studio. But before we get into that, I'm going to go ahead and clean up my Betterpress system. I just used a microfiber cloth and some stamp cleaning solution, some gentle stamp cleaning solution. It cleaned it up pretty well. And once I got that cleaned up, I went ahead and moved on to my coloring. Now here's where I get to show you that super secret sneak peek, and it's of the brand new liquid watercolors from Pinkfresh Studio. These coordinate beautifully with their existing ink colors, and I won't give away all of the details on these, but I'll just show you here today that I am using the colors Peach Fuzz, Coral Reef, Bay Leaf, and Sage to do all of the coloring of my image today. And you can see I am just dropping one drop of each color onto my glass mat work surface. And then I'm just going to use some water, and I'm going to do some really loose watercolor. Now I have a few brushes here, just different sizes based on kind of the sizes of the leaves and the roses and all of that. But I will tell you, I am no expert at watercolor. But I do like to dabble in it every now and then, and I love these brand new liquid watercolors from Pinkfresh Studio. They are coming soon along with this watercolor paper that I'm working on. So just save your Christmas present money because you're going to want to add these to your stash. So I'm starting out with a little bit of water on my work surface, and I'm just picking it up with a brush. And then I'm going to go into this Coral Reef ink and start adding the color into this wet cardstock or watercolor paper surface. Now I left all of the watercoloring in this video, but I'm going to speed it up because I'm sure you don't want to sit here for 20 minutes watching me watercolor. And really, I'm just keeping it super basic. I'm adding some water to the surface of my cardstock and then going into the color and bringing that into the images. Now, this is really a beautiful effect because that design, that floral and leaf design, is pressed into the paper. So the lines of it are kind of recessed. And then you have this beautiful watercolor happening all around it. It is just such a high-end luxury look. And you can see I'm not even being careful to stay inside the lines necessarily. I'm just adding color really loosely. If it goes out of the lines in a couple of places, that's okay. If it doesn't go all the way to the edge in a few places, that's okay as well. I'm just quickly adding color onto this image. And then once I get my first layer of color down, I'm going to come in and add some more detail and shading just real loosely with another layer. Now, all around this image, I wanted to create kind of a faded out background. So I'm adding water onto the watercolor cardstock, and then I'm adding that sage color to kind of create a background. And I'm using a little bit larger brush for this because it's a larger area. Now, as I mentioned before, once I get the first layer of color on this design, I'm going to go ahead and bring in some more of the Coral Reef and the Peach Fuzz and add some shading to these images. So I'm kind of using the lines of the images themselves, some of those creases in the floral petals and that sort of thing to kind of guide me where I'm putting my shading, but I'm not being super like I'm not thinking about where the light source is coming from. I'm just adding some dark places and some light places and really just enjoying the process. And I think that that's what it's all about, because I don't think someone's going to get this card and think, wow, that shadow should have been a little bit to the right or something like that. You know what I mean? So I'm getting that all kind of worked on there, and then I'll hit this with my heat tool to dry it. And then I actually came in with just a little more color and a really small brush and added some even darker places to these floral images. Now, I do want to say I'm not mixing in a ton of water with these. I'm kind of going in more with straight color and a damp brush, and I'm using the exact same colors that I used before. So you don't need like 15 colors of watercolors to create all of these lights and darks that I'm creating on this image today. Now, once I have that all colored and I'm happy with it, I am going to move on to using the Betterpress system again to create my sentiment. So I grabbed the brand new Favorite Things Press Plate Sentiment Set and the coordinating dies, and I grabbed a scrap of watercolor cardstock, that Pinkfresh Studio watercolor cardstock. I'm just making sure that it's going to, my sentiment's going to fit on this scrap. And then I adhered my watercolor cardstock to the platen of the Betterpress system, and I have that sentiment right there in the center of my Betterpress chase and magnetic mat. Now this time I'm going to use the Betterpress ink in black, and I'm using the same kind of tap and twist motion to ink up this plate, but I made much less of a mess this time because my ink pad was a little bit smaller and I had a little more control over it. So that's where I'm saying that I think the ink cubes are actually easier to use on these press plates than the larger ink pads. So if you have them, use them. Otherwise, you can totally use your full-size pads. Now, once I have my sentiment inked up, I'm going to put the platen onto the chase using those magnetic feet, run it through my Spellbinders, Platinum 6, and then I have this beautiful letterpress sentiment. I'm going to grab the coordinating die, hold it in place with a little bit of that Best Ever Craft tape, and then I ran that through my Anna Griffin Impress die cut machine. You could totally use your Platinum 6 die cut machine as well. I just didn't have the platform out for die cutting today, so I used my Impress because it's always right by my workstation. And I die cut my sentiment. You can see I'm using my reverse tweezers here from Pinkfresh Studio. I love those. I love a good reverse tweezer, and the fact that they are gold makes my heart just so happy. So I also use the coordinating die for this Camellias press plate, and I die cut that floral image. And I'm going to keep both of these pieces because you'll remember that I kind of have that watercolor shading around the outside of that floral. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to adhere this kind of outline piece or the negative portion of the die cut onto an A2 size card base using some liquid glue. I'm just lining it up with that upper left-hand corner and along the edges. And then once I get this kind of wiggled into place, I'm going to grab my Misty stamping tool and just place it on the top to add some weight to keep this kind of pressed down as it's drying. And then I'm going to grab some foam adhesive and I'm going to put it all over the back of that floral piece. And I'm going to add the floral piece nestled inside the die cut, but it's going to have some dimension. So I'm using some scrapbook.com foam adhesive here. This is a great foam adhesive. They have 3 different depths of foam adhesive from scrapbook.com. It's a 1 millimeter, a 2 millimeter, and a 3 millimeter. So if you're looking for kind of the standard height foam adhesive, you're going to want to go with the 2 millimeter. So once I have my foam adhesive on the back, I removed the backers and nestled that into the negative die cut piece and pressed it onto my card base there so it has some nice dimension. And then I die cut a circle out of some vellum, and I'm going to adhere my pressed sentiment or my letterpress sentiment right on top of that vellum circle using some liquid glue. And I'm just kind of using my grid mat here to really help me get this straight onto that circle. Of course, you can always tilt a circle to make it straight, but that's just kind of how I roll. I'm just making sure I get everything where I want it. Then I added some foam adhesive to the back of this, kind of hidden behind that sentiment. And I'm using my reverse tweezers again to help me get it right in place on my card front. I'm just kind of nestling it in there. I love the softness that this little vellum circle adds to this card. It is just kind of a very ethereal look. It is so beautiful. And then I finished off my card front with a few champagne glitter drops from Pinkfresh Studio. I'm using some liquid glue and my double tipped embellishment tool from Pinkfresh Studio to place those onto my card. And that finishes off this very simple yet very beautiful and luxurious looking kind of stationery style card. I love the look of letterpress. I always have. I have been using kind of some DIY letterpress systems from ages ago, but nothing quite compares to this Betterpress system. It is so easy. It is so foolproof. And now with the addition of some Pinkfresh Studio press plates to go with this Betterpress system, I mean, does it get any better than that? I don't think so. Now, as always, I will have links to the featured products used in this project in the description at YouTube. So if you're looking for something in particular, be sure you check there. Or you can head on over to my blog at sprinkledwithglitter.com. Over there, I'll have more still shots, more information, and a complete list of supplies, as well as some information on a blog hop that I'm participating in today to celebrate this brand new press plate release from Pinkfresh Studio. Boy, that's hard to say. Press plate release. Thanks again for joining me. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, be sure to give this video a thumbs up. And don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notifications here on my YouTube channel so you don't miss any of my paper crafting and card making video tutorials. Once again, I'm so glad you're here. Thanks for watching. And until next time, I hope you have a fabulous day.